Okay, everybody, we're continuing on in our early Genesis time of thinking about this. So remember, Genesis 1 and 2, the two creation accounts aren't in it, no science whatsoever. If you go back looking for dinosaurs and big bangs and universal and speed of light, you're not going to find it there. What you're going to find is purpose statements, relationship statements, how God is with people, how people are created, which brings us to Adam and Eve, right? Not Adam and Eve, probably real people at some point, a pair of people, but more broadly than that, Adam, meaning humanity, was created by God to be in relationship with God. Okay, Adam and Eve. I mean, of course, they didn't call each other Adam and Eve because the Hebrew language didn't exist until, 2 millennia BC. So that's not their names. But it's about purpose. It's about a purpose statement. It's not a science statement. We have humanity, this pair, whatever, created with mortal bodies, created in sacred space, the sacred garden, God's space, meaning they are serving in sacred space, meaning they are made for relationship with God. That's very important. We know that humanity, Adam and Eve, were made different than the animals. They are ontologically different. Isn't that a big word? Ontologically different. Now, and I thank John Walton for his great scholarship, and I'm going to cite him for this. They are different than the animals. Remember, Adam looked through all the animals for a helpmate and couldn't find one, and so God creates another human, this female, which brings us to the two. You see this all the way through the book. God created heaven and earth, night and day, male and female. Okay, you see that all the way, land and not, sky, and okay, you see these two, and that's the way God creates. Okay, so anyway, we have Adam and Eve. Now let's talk about the fall. Okay, let's think about this. Adam and Eve, humanity, created to be in relationship with God in that ordered space. Ordered space. Now inside of that, now I'm going to tell you, read Genesis 3. Inside this garden, this perfect sacred space, this temple, there are two trees. You remember the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. John Walton calls it the tree of wisdom, right? So let's use Walton's terminology. So we'll say the tree of life and the tree of wisdom. Why are they there? They're there representing life and wisdom, both of which come from God. They are God's to give and God's alone. Now let's think about this. Adam and Eve created with mortal bodies, so they're dieable. They're mortal. They can die. But because they're in God's presence, they are tree of life, immortal. Now the wisdom, why did God say not to get a hold of that tree? Why wouldn't God want them to eat that tree of wisdom from it? Well, because they were supposed to, John Walton, I love this guy, talks about how humanity was to work alongside God, learn God's wisdom, learn God's way of keeping and protecting and ordering the world in the peaceful way that he had made it, the beautiful way that he had made it. Now, when the serpent comes along, and by the way, this isn't Satan, okay? This isn't like the devil, medieval stuff. This isn't Satan. It never says it's Satan. The word used is Nahash, which is a serpent, and it's only used a couple of times in the Old Testament. Nahash isn't like the devil in guise of a snake. Nahash is a chaos creature. Now this is a technical category that is all the way through Hebrew thinking, and they don't call it chaos creatures, but that's a good way of thinking about it. You remember God creates through making order. A chaos creature is in both worlds, chaos and order. So a chaos creature can create chaos. They're not evil, they break things. Examples are Leviathan. Maybe you've heard of Leviathan in Job and Isaiah, Nahash. Anyway, these are chaos creatures. So this serpent, minor role. people and God are the main roles here. People and God. People, and what is so wrong about Eve trying this? And it's not an apple, by the way. Eve trying to eat from this. And Adam, because when they do, they try to grasp their own order, their own wisdom. They think they can make, instead of God's way, their way. So I guess it's an idolatry. So it's not that they fell from grace, or, I guess you probably could call it that. John Walton talks about that. Wonderful. But this is more of they were idolatrous in seeking their own wisdom, their own order, trying to create everything for themselves rather than receiving from God. Now, they get kicked out of the sacred space, the garden, okay? Now there's lots more to talk about in this whole thing. It's huge, but I want to talk about Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, when they get kicked out of the garden, they lose access to the first tree, the tree of life. So now they are, God said, when you eat of the other tree, you will, it says die, but the Hebrew is more like be doomed to die. So it's not like poison, but it's like future poison. Your mortality kicks in. So when Adam and Eve get expelled from the garden, no longer having the presence of God, losing that presence of God and the presence of the life from God, it's represented by that tree of life, they are now those who die. They are now mortal. They are doomed to die, just like all of us are until Christ returns and remakes all things, okay? So that is the first piece here about the fall. Don't go asking your questions. Ask what that author was trying to say to those people, and then you will understand, and then you can ask your questions after you understand the original. All right, thanks. Comment below, like, and subscribe. See you later.